I am currently recording this at the back end of the third quarter. There was a minute left in the third quarter. The Suns are up 89, now 90 to 61. And I'm not making this as a video to say the Lakers are not going to be championship contenders, that the Lakers are going to be terrible, that they have to completely make up their roster again, that this roster sucks. But what I do have to say is that a team that is this good, that has this much talent, already having this much internal turmoil showing on the court, having this much frustration being shown in a negative way, because frustration amongst players, communication amongst players is not always a bad thing. Michael Jordan was one of the guys who did it the most. You need to be able to have those conversations with players. But doing it on the court in your second game of the year, losing this badly with this little amount of an effort, of a compete level, of production, of performance, is really poor. Is really poor. This Lakers team is supposed to be big. It's supposed to be strong. It's supposed to be very well led. The leadership does not look there tonight. LeBron James' compete level just looks completely gone out the window. AD has not had a good night at all. They have conceded more than 40 plus points in the paint in terms of their differential. I believe when I stopped watching, it was 48 to 4 or 48 to 6 in favor of the Suns. The Suns are +8 in terms of rebounds. The Lakers have 6 more turnovers against them. Everything about tonight, performance-wise, but most importantly, effort-wise, defensive effort, cohesion, just a want together as this group to want to play hard, to work together to try and figure things out. Already game 2, they're having an altercation on the bench between Dwight and AD, which sure, Dwight is a new piece, but Dwight played with AD already. He was there on the title team. And it's just a mess, man. I really hope the Lakers can figure this out. But this is just a note that the Lakers have more than just basketball things to figure out. This is compete. This is want to win. This is chemistry. This is off the court chemistry specifically, and just being able to get along with guys. And so I'm sure they'll have some talks. They'll have some nice film sessions over the next couple of days, and they'll try and figure some things out. Now, of course, there's a lot of young guys. Not a lot of young guys, a lot of new guys on this team. They're gonna have to figure out the defensive rotations, their rotations in general. Uh, who's gonna play at the 5 and what minutes between AD and Jordan and Dwight Howard, and just having guys learn Frank Vogel's defensive system, which is, as Frank Vogel is a defensive coach, it does take a bit of time to learn sometimes. So it's gonna take time. I don't think that this means that the Lakers aren't going to be a good team. And that's not what I'm trying to ensue by making this video. But what I am saying is that there's more than just talent and on the court things that this Lakers team needs to figure out for this team to be successful, because compete level needs to be there, and that's just not there tonight, and it's not excusable, especially in the second game of the year. That being said, full kudos to the Phoenix Suns, to everyone that continues to say last year was a fluke, they got fortunate, good luck with injuries, yada yada, you name it. Hey, sure, this Lakers team isn't playing good tonight, but they just put up 94 and held the Lakers to 67 through 3 quarters, shooting 52% from the field. Phoenix are legit, man. I'm going to continue to say it. I still have them as a team that I think is going to get to the finals this upcoming season. This Suns team is good. They are well-rounded. They have good depth. They can score. They can defend. They have good size, as they've dominated in the paint tonight. I think this is a really good group, and full kudos to them for their performance against the Lakers tonight. That being said, let's move ahead and talk about some of the other games across the NBA tonight. The Charlotte Hornets ended up winning on the night 123 to 112 over the Cleveland Cavaliers. And let me tell you, I am so happy to see Miles Bridges in the starting lineup and PJ Washington on the bench. And that has nothing to do with PJ Washington and everything to do with Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges was so good for this team as a starter last year when Gordon Hayward and LaMelo Ball were out with injury. And tonight he just showed exactly why. This has always been a good defensive wing. Somebody's coming as a six man for them, gives them good defensive minutes, a little bit of shooting. But tonight, 30 points, 7 rebounds, gives some good defense, 3 steals, 4 and 9 from deep. He just gives you everything, man. He can space with his three-point ability. He can attack the rim as one of the best athletic finishers at the rim for layups and for dunks. He's a very good wing defender, very good man-on-man defender, can get you some steals, get you some blocks, and just be a good man-on-man guy. So glad to see him in the starting lineup. So glad to see him doing well. LaMelo Ball has another good night, a good playmaking and efficient scoring. Gordon Hayward does a nice bit of playmaking for this group as well tonight. And Kelly Oubre is going to be that six-man spark plug for this group. Having PJ Washington and Kelly Oubre off of the bench is going to be absolutely brilliant. But this is looking more like the Kelly Oubre of the Phoenix Suns than the Golden State Warriors. He put up 25 on the night, a 9 of 13 shooting, extremely efficient, knows how to get a bucket. And it's going to be extremely crucial to the Charlotte Hornets group that I think is going to be a very interesting team this upcoming season. It has to be considered in the postseason picture for the Eastern Conference. Briefly, I do want to mention, if I don't talk about your team or mention certain games on a certain night, don't take it personal, especially on games like nights where tonight, like there's 10 games on the schedule, I believe, or something like that. I just can't watch every game, and I don't just want to read you guys the box score because anyone can read you the box score. So I'll talk about any game that I at least watched a little bit of, or at least have something to say of note, like the Charlotte game where I didn't really get to watch much of that game, but I just wanted to emphasize on Miles Bridges getting in the starting lineup. So that being said, I'm not going to talk about the Knicks in Orlando, but ultimately a good game from Julius Randle again, and good bench scoring. But the Pacers and the Wizards had a doozy, man. There was no defense to be seen in this game. There was a lot of concerns tonight as far as pick and roll defense goes for both teams. There was definitely some questionable pick and roll defense, but Sabonis did his thing for Indiana. Miles Turner, one of my most underrated centers in the NBA, puts up a 40-piece, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, 5 of 9 from deep. This man is one of the most underrated floor spacing bigs in the league, while being a Defensive Player of the Year candidate when healthy. This man can score inside, score from the perimeter, has a little bit of ability to put it on the floor if someone gives him too aggressive as a closeout, and is one of the most freakishly athletic rim protectors in the league. Brilliant game from him. Brogdon had a good playmaking and scoring game as well. 8 assists for him. Brilliant. If he can give you that level of playmaking, that's what you need. Chris Duarte continues to look like the real deal as well. He just looks comfortable and composed out there, and that's something you love to see. But ultimately, Washington ended up coming victorious in overtime. No Bradley Beal on the court. No problem. Spencer Dinwiddie already looks like his old self. 2 games back after being out of the league for a year due to his injury. He puts up 34 on the night. Continues to be a very good playmaker. Continues to be a very good scorer from mid-range, at the rim, from deep. Playmaking for others. You name it. Dinwiddie is getting it done. And Kyle Kuzma, showing that he can be a guy on the ball. And ultimately, I think he's going to be really good in this Washington team. Specifically on a night where Beal isn't on the floor, when he can be one of the more primary options, where he was one of the only guys alongside Dinwiddie, Neto, and Bertans that shot over 10 shots. He can be that guy. He can have the ball in his hands. And when he is that guy with the ball in his hands, I think when he's the most effective in this league. That's why I never thought he was a good fit alongside LeBron. But ultimately, he played really good tonight. Good rebounding for them. Good floor spacing. Good from 3. Good from mid-range. Finished up with 26. Montrezl Harrell looked very good as well again tonight, playing 34 minutes. Gafford only playing 18, with Harrell being very active on the boards, better in protection as well, and just being active as always. Davis Bertans looked better tonight as well than he did at most parts than last year, having a few nice cuts and hitting some threes for them. And Raul Neto had a very good game off of the bench as well. So Fukuros to the Wizards picking up a win, going 2-0 without Bradley Beal tonight. I do briefly want to talk about the Toronto Raptors. I have a video separately that went out earlier this evening on the Toronto Raptors, so I'll be sure to keep that up on the card on the right-hand side of the top right of the screen if you want to see that. I'll also have it at the end of the video if that is something you want to see. But ultimately, Scotty Barnes looked very good tonight. Their defense looked very good tonight. Boston struggled. Scotty Barnes really clamped down on Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown had nowhere near as good of a game as he did against the Knicks. And the lack of size that the Boston Celtics have off of the bench is a concern because Enes Kanter did not really play in this game until late in the fourth. So ultimately, Grant Williams ran a fair bit at the 5. And that was a problem when Keem Birch and Chris Boucher was in there for Toronto, when Precious Achiuwa was in there. Talk about Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby. There's a lot of length for this group, and Boston were just not able to handle it. 25 turnovers they had, and they allowed 21 offensive rebounds. And that allowed Toronto to shoot 100 shots on the night, and that was ultimately the difference, alongside Toronto shooting 21 of 21 from the free throw line, which I don't think was anywhere near talked about enough tonight. So Fukuros to Toronto on getting back to 1-1. Boston now fall to 0-2. That being said, that is my thoughts on tonight's slate of games. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below what you guys thought about today's games, and if there's any thoughts or updates you want to give me on any games I did not talk about, be sure to let me know down in the comment section below, as I would love to keep up to date and get your insight on any of the games that I missed. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.